All right, guys, welcome. This is going to be episode 5, right? Because we're going to put this
Six.
up immediately. No, we're going to
Oh yeah,
skip.
yeah, yeah, right.
We're going to
So
hold on what is supposed to be episode 5 and upload this one as episode 5. So, welcome to episode 5. A mere, what is it? Like 27 hours since Call of Duty has released their reveal trailer for Call of Duty World War II. And of course, as always, I have my good buddy Kobe here. Kobe, what's going on?
nah, I'm just stoked, man.
Tell me how excited you are to record
Just
this
stoked, dude.
episode for this
So
topic.
Call of Duty is the whole reason why I have fresh air or a breath of fresh air into my gaming career in the early 2006 era. I had quit gaming for a long time, and then I got into Call of Duty, and I was hooked on Modern Warfare, the original. And so I'm beyond stoked. I quit playing Call of Duty when they went from boots on the ground because it really frustrated me. The type of gameplay wasn't my style. I just didn't have fun flying through the air and all that other shit. So I went right back to Counter Strike, which is what I still am doing now. But now that Call of Duty is going back, boots on the ground. Not only that, but we're covering the modern, not the modern, the name of the game, right? The World War II era, which is also really cool because as of not too long ago, a few years back, I just started recently getting into the history, like the actual history of the World Wars. So not only is this going to be an awesome game to play in general, and I'm really excited about that, but it's also going to be a really cool aspect to play in the light of the historical side of it too, which is what I'm really excited about. Yeah, man, I'm stoked.
I think that's my what I'm looking forward to most is actually besides multiplayer because I'm obviously a multiplayer guy. I'm looking forward to playing through the campaign and seeing how historically accurate it is. Like looking through not just the reveal trailer, but through that campaign video that you showed me, where basically it was just the producers talking about the direction that they were going in with the campaign. They sounded like they put a lot of research into it, and they sounded pretty educated in what story that they were telling. Now, obviously, I'm not really sure if this is actually one man's story or if this is kind of like a kind of made up story within actual facts.
No.
But it
Um,
but like they're starting like straight from Normandy and they're going all the way to like Operation Plunder. So it's gonna be interesting. And for those of you who don't know, Operation Plunder is the same thing as the crossing of the Rhine. For all my history nerds out there. But I'm like really excited to see how they do that. You go all the way from Normandy to Operation Plunder. It's gonna be cool to see the campaign. It's a campaign that I'm actually excited to play.
yeah, and just to I guess bring it to light. No, so the as I'm reading an article in IGN, but basically what they're doing is they state that you're gonna fill the boots of what a kid named Ronald Red Daniels, who's a 19-year-old from Texas. But it's not so much about the uh, him. The whole story is not so much about him. The developers did a really phenomenal job on showing the camaraderie aspect of the military. And being a veteran myself, I understand the camaraderie of military units is probably something that nobody will ever understand unless they're a part of the military. And I think that's one of the pieces of this game that I really want to see. I really want to see how they do that. But you're going to be following a kid who's not, I don't think is based off of a real person. I think it's just kind of somebody that they implemented to put them into the
Yeah,
game so that
that's
way
what
you
I
can have an
mean. Yeah,
understanding.
like the
Yeah,
fake person within like a real story kind of thing.
exactly. Yeah. So, yeah. So you basically what Sledgehammer did, and I honestly think that they've outdone themselves so far as I can see with this game. They had to reach back and go through a lot of history, touch out or reach out to a lot of historians. When I was watching the thing yesterday about the release, they said that they even went and talked to a bunch of veterans, a bunch of military members to understand the whole camaraderie aspect of the way that the game is going to be portrayed. So I'm really stoked. Really
And
stoked.
I mean, I guess what we have to touch on because everybody just goes nuts for this for some reason, but I'll give it to them this time. It's piqued my interest. Is Nazi zombies? Nazi zombies. I'm interested. I'm interested.
Why are you interested?
I don't know. I'm not the kind of guy that likes a horde mode or like a survival mode where it's just round based and it's just see how long you can go. I'm really not into that. But the World at War Nazi Zombies was perfection in my eyes. Like nothing they ever came out with after that was ever stood up to that standard that set for me. And it seems to have gotten crazy where you have to go to like all these inner dimensions now and do these side missions to get things to progress in the level. But it's like, we need to remember that this thing started by having 4 people locked in a building just defending themselves from oncoming zombies. Like, it was so basic, yet it was so perfect. And they've done nothing but show a picture, and I'm already interested. They've said that this is, like, people are saying that this is going to be more of, like, this is going to be like a horror game. Like, this is going to be a Nazi zombies to be scared of. And I'm not one for being scared. But this is one of the exceptions where I will put my fear out there, and I will actually, like, go and play this just because they've piqued my interest that much.
I think one of the things that they should definitely do is implement harder zombies, less of them, but make it to where it's surprising, you know, like the whole thing about the zombies aspect is surprising. It's surprising how hard they are to kill, but it's also surprising. It should be something that makes you scared, right? I will tell you, there's not been a single Call of Duty that has made me play my Nazi zombies for more than 10 minutes. It bores the shit out of me.
And I'm usually the same way.
And I can't. Now World at War was a very different story. You know, we're talking about World at War. We're talking about the original game. That was a breath of fresh air for the aspect of Call of Duty, getting away from the campaign, getting away from the multiplayer, getting into a team-based survival mode. That was fun, right? But I still never really played it that much, just because I was so much more into the competitive aspect. And that's one of the big reasons why I quit playing Call of Duty in general. It wasn't as competitive as I thought as I figured it was going to be, you know. And to me, it got super boring with all of the, you know, flying around and not having boots on the ground. I think there's a lot more of a strategic and teamwork aspect in terms of having, you know, boots on the ground, limited mobility. It's just more realistic to me, and I think that's what's fun.
I think IGN actually said it best in one of their articles. It was written by Marty Silva, and he titled it "Call of Duty World War II Ditches Superheroes for Humanity and Horror." Yeah. And that's truly, like, if you want to sum it up in one headline, that's it. That's the whole feeling I'm getting from the trailer, from what they're saying about the campaign. It's everything. It's they're gone from this, you know, made up, like, maybe possible future and jetpacks and laser guns. Like, they're away from that, and they're getting back into, like, a grounded scenario. It's more about the humans, the soldiers now, that camaraderie of the unit that you were talking about before, and the true horror of war. Like, for the past couple of games, these futuristic scenarios, they forgot it seems to me, my feeling in playing those games, that they forgot the horror of war, and that war is not a glamorous thing. It's not something to take for granted. Like, people go through hell in these wars, and it seems like this game is finally, like, paying tribute to those who either survived or even those, especially those who did not, and gave their lives for something greater. And that's what's really exciting me about this game. It's not glamorizing war and making you a superhero. It's making you a nobody and showing you the horror that people like this made up character had to go through. Like that, even though it's a made up character, this scenario really happened. There was 20,
Yep.
there was 20 some, all these 20 something year olds,
Not even 20-something year
like
olds. There were kids
like
in World War II that
19-year
were
olds.
17 years old.
You,
And that's one of the things that people don't understand is, nowadays when you're 17, 18, and 19, a lot of kids don't even know what they want to do. Like they're still living with their parents, and they don't understand what it is to go to war. And that's one of the biggest things that I've had a problem with every war game, no matter what, is they make it sexy. They make war sexy. They make you into this, late 20s, early 30s, experienced guardian god who, runs around and saves the world. No, it's not that way. There are 17, 18, and 19-year-old kids who are getting their limbs blown off, watching their best friends die, watching people go crazy, getting disease and infection, roughing it for the most part with very little support from even their ally sides until they can get another fleet or another platoon to replace them, and especially in the world wars, you had racism was a big thing. It was just pure hatred from all sides realistically, and it was a terrible time in humanity. And I think that if Sledgehammer really wants to do this game justice, you need to show those sides. You need to show the sides of both the allies and the opposing side. No matter what, you need to be able to break it down and show how disgusting war is. Let people go through this aspect of history, that this could be their first time ever really touching the subject of World War II. You have kids that are going to be 12, 13 years old who have never even really talked about it.
And that's really scary, because there's going to be a generation of kids playing this game that were not around for the original Call of Duties. So this is this is one of the first times they may be they might be gamers, and this might be the first time that they're touching this subject, like within this medium of entertainment or this medium of education, like through video games. This may be the first time that they're approaching World War II. So it's almost on the heads of Sledgehammer to do this right. They have to do this right. There is no room for failure. You are about to introduce a concept, not a concept, but like this story of history. You're about to give this story to people who have not studied it yet.
An entire generation of people. And that's one of the biggest things that we got to look at. These kids that have never really had any breath or insight into any of the world wars, for first or second, that are looking at these futuristic war games, like, oh, wars, people shooting guns, people die, but that's it. That's all it is. No, World War II ended in an atomic bomb. Like, people don't understand these things, and I think Sledgehammer is going to do a really good job. I have high hopes and high faith that they're going to portray the war in a correct light. Looking at the same IGN article that I linked to earlier, there's one of the quotes basically says Sledgehammer promises to tackle the issues of racism, religion, religious persecution, and sexism in the war. Now, hold on. This is something that I think it definitely needs to be addressed. But the one thing that I hope Sledgehammer doesn't do is they don't over portray these aspects just because of current situations and the state of the United States. That's all I'm going to say about that. There are terrible situations in racism in this war. There are bad situations in sexism. There were women that faked to be men for 20 years and almost retired because they wanted to serve our country. And then, they were kicked out of the military after like 15, 18 years of service whenever they were found out to be women. Now, a lot of them have been honored and awarded medals and buried in, very prestigious cemeteries for veterans, etc., because of their aspect or their efforts in the war. But racism and religious persecution were very, very prevalent at this time in the United States in general. I think that if they can just take all of this, mold it in with the camaraderie aspect, because I know a lot of it was also about the camaraderie, and no matter what, like if you were black, white, Hispanic, if you were an immigrant, whatever, and you were fighting for the United States, there was a significantly more amount of camaraderie than if there were pure white platoons, pure black platoons, etc. And there are those platoons in these wars that really did happen. And I think it's just really cool how they're stating This is something that they announced. They're stating that they are addressing the war how it was, the dirt, the nastiness, the ugliness, the death, the destruction of war, instead of making it into this sexy game that people just want to play because it looks fun. And the historical side of that, to me, I think has a lot of benefits when you are addressing that generation that has yet to have any exposure to the world wars. I think it'll give them a lot more insight. I think it'll be cool.
One thing that I'm hoping, though, is that as we play through this character, I hope they don't make it so that it seems like all the things that you are doing is the reason that the Allies win the war. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like I don't want them to blow out of proportion like what you're doing, because it's like it's not how it happened. It's not one crew went from Normandy all the way to Operation Plunder and won the whole war, like for the Allies.
What they address is that there are multiple facets of this war. And at least what the Sledgehammer crew was saying was that they were going to approach the war from multiple facets, multiple angles, because you do have the Allies, all aspects of the Allies, not just one platoon, and then you do have the other side. I think that they're going to approach it more of like these are different types of battles that happens. Here's the historical side. You can play as the people that are into this battle, but for the main part, they're going to follow one platoon through their experience in the war. I think that's kind of how it is. But
yeah, I just don't want them to make the war seem small, because like people have to remember, back in World War I, they didn't call the war World War I. It was called the Great War for many years because the world thought it would never see a conflict that big ever again. So they called it the Great War. And it only became World War I after the conclusion of World War II, when everybody realized that was then the biggest conflict the world has ever seen. And it reminded everybody that something could happen again. It's not that you have one great war and that's it for humanity. Like, something can happen again. Something bigger can happen, and World War II showed that. So I don't want them to kind of diminish the size of the war and make it seem like it's centered around your guy. Like, I want the things we do in the campaign to be substantial to helping the cause of winning the war, but I don't want to be, the superhero who, wins the whole war with, just a rifle and a pistol.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how they introduce the war, and specifically, I'm curious to see how they end in the game. Like,
well, they said it's going to start from Normandy, and then it's going to end with Operation Plunder. That's our character's timeline within the war.
Okay, so they're not going through, Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
No, nothing from the Eastern Front.
Okay, cool. Yeah, which is good, because then that maybe saves them.
Which is what I wanted. I was semi disappointed when the trailer opened with Normandy, because I was kind of hoping we would get a Call of Duty that did what Medal of Honor did and focused on the Japanese side of the war. But maybe that's coming in the future, and
it could be.
Maybe I just made like a sick prediction. Two more things I want to touch on. One campaign, and then we'll get into multiplayer. Big surprise, they casted Josh Duhamel from Transformers for this game. It looks like he's your like squad leader or your platoon leader. He looks like he's your superior throughout the game. And there's that scene where one of the guys, I don't know if it's our character, they're having an argument and he punches him, and there's some problems happening within the squad. But that's a big cast. That's a big star name for them. They've done it before. They've done Kiefer Sutherland. They've done Kevin Spacey in Call of Duty before. They did Kit Harington in the last one.
Yeah,
So
they're known for casting big names.
yeah, now they are, which is really exciting. I'm really excited to see his performance in the game.
And I think one of the big reasons that they do this is because, especially when it comes down to somebody who has previously played a role that's similar, they can get back into character relatively easily, and they have the experience under that role. So, you know, like Josh Duhamel in Transformers, for instance, you know, he plays a military man.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Who has that experience, and you know, in that role, he's very hardcore. He's, you know, very cold in terms of his composure, etc. He's very tactful. He's got a lot of that aspect to his character in terms of the person that he plays, and it allows him to really kind of give somebody who has that experience, especially with a game, and say, like, all right, this is what we're looking for. Help us make this happen. And somebody who's experienced, like Josh Duhamel, can go through and be like, okay, these are the type of movements I should probably do. This is the type of, you know, especially having an experienced actor in general, this is the type of emotion I should show, or this is the type of emotion I think would be best for this scene, and things like that. So I think it's really cool that they're going with this trend of hiring professional actors, especially professional actors who have the experience of being in a position in which they're hiring them for.
Yeah, that's interesting that you point that out now, because now it's like, oh, Kevin Spacey does make sense. You know, Kevin Spacey kind of plays like, you know, the suit and tie, like, you know, powerful kinds of characters, and that's exactly what he played in his Call of Duty. What was that? That was Advanced Warfare, I think he was in.
And they also hired that guy from NCIS. I forget what his name is. He played in Call of Duty. I think it was.
I'm about to Google it. NCIS guy in Call of Duty. No,
not that guy.
I got nothing.
It was the one. What's that show where Special Victims Unit, SVU?
Oh, Christopher Meloni?
Yeah, I don't know.
From Law and Order?
No. Yeah, Law and Order SVU, like the partner.
Oh no, let's see. Christopher
Copy
Maloney. Yeah, he's like the main character. Yeah. I know this guy.
That guy.
What did he do? Call of. Oh, he was in Black Ops 3.
Black Ops 2 and 3.
No, Oh, I just see Black Ops 3.
Yeah, Black Ops 3.
Oh, yeah, Black Ops 3.
That's the one that I was talking about. But they're hiring people that have these types of experiences in terms of their acting career, which I think is pretty cool. He did a really good job too.
So while talking about Black Ops 3, I want to segue into what do you think? Just a crazy prediction, because we don't know anything now. They said E3 is gonna be huge for them, and I truly believe that. I believe they're going to steal at least the PlayStation side of the show at E3 this year. It's gonna be huge for them. I truly believe that. What do you think? A wild guess. How do you think the multiplayer is gonna play? How do you think it's gonna feel? Are we gonna get more of like a Black Ops feel, or?
I'm hoping to see an entirely new engine that is very relatable to the Black Ops feel.
I kind of want a Black Ops 2 feel with a world at war, like arsenal and map setting and things like that. That's kind of my small prediction.
If I could go back to it, I would probably say Call of Duty Ghosts. In terms of the map feels, I thoroughly enjoyed the Ghost maps. I think that Call of Duty Ghosts had some of the better maps, especially in terms of like the MLG aspect of it. When you're looking at the competitive advantage between maps and different spawn points, etc. I think that the Call of Duty Ghosts had some of the most even overall maps, but they just looked really good. They were a lot of fun to play. So that's probably one. I hope that they go to a map pool that's very similar to Ghost, but with a movement feel that is, or an engine that's very relatable to Black Ops 2. We'll see.
I'm hoping it's as close to Black Ops 2, like as it's as close to a Black Ops 2 World at War hybrid. That's what I'm hoping for. That's my dream right there.
I can't wait. I want a World at War remake.
Not out of the question, but it would be interesting. It would be interesting
to release it as a DLC for World War II.
That's I don't think that would happen because that's I don't know.
We'll see.
I don't feel like that's gonna happen. I feel like I feel like we're stretching too much because that's a Treyarch game.
We'll see.
So
no,
I don't.
mean, I would just.
It would have to come out on a Treyarch release year, which is when's the next Treyarch year?
I don't know. Didn't they change to every 3 years?
Yeah. So it's a Treyarch, Sledgehammer, and then whatever those other nerds are.
Whatever those other nerds are. It's a good thing to be a nerd nowadays, guys.
Yeah.
This isn't one of those. We're not degrading people because we like video games
Yeah,
too. It's okay. Nerds are good.
But yeah, any closing remarks?
Yes. So
go for it.
First of all, I would love for anybody that watches this and actually watches it all the way through to let us know what you are excited about in terms of World War II and Call of Duty. What kind of map would you like to see?
Infinity Ward. That's who I was thinking of.
Yeah. IW. What was your favorite COD game? Answer all those questions. Let me know. I'm thoroughly interested because my all-time favorite Call of Duty outside I would have to say my all-time favorite Call of Duty has to be Modern Warfare and then Modern Warfare 2. Just those two.
They're good ones.
Those two are just the best. But
so yeah, guys, we want to hear what you guys think is going to happen with World War II. Do you have any predictions? What are you hoping for? The campaign, the multiplayer? Tell us everything. You know how I stand on it. If you've been watching my Beam streams lately, you know that I'm completely back into Black Ops 2 right now. I loved World at War. If they could somehow make a Call of Duty baby from those games, that would be perfect for me. So you guys know where I stand. I want to know where you guys stand. Sound off in the comments. And that's all I have. Kobe.
For you, you're still doing Beam, right?
Yes. Beam.pro/WorldWideTG.
And how close are you to your goal?
Of what?
Your goals for Patreon.
We're done. Netflix night is tomorrow.
Congrats.
Netflix night is tomorrow.
On some Netflix night. Oh,
yo, go hit that $5 tier right now and get in the Discord.
I might have to. My wife had never seen the movie that we just watched last night. Give me 1 second. I gotta think about this. The John Wick. She had never seen John Wick, and I was like, "Yo,
okay, a little bit overrated, but it's a good movie." All right, continue.
John Wick was amazing. Anyways, so like 1 minute into it, you know how? Well, I'm not gonna spoil it, but you know some.
Oh wait, the John Wick 2 is out already. If they haven't seen the first one,
spoiler alert. Like 5 minutes in, how John Wick's puppy dies, dude. My wife was bawling. She was crying.
Oh Jesus,
so hard. But,
and then she didn't shed a tear for like the thousands of people he killed.
No, fuck no.
He literally like took on like the Russian army. Why don't we just send John Wick to Korea? He'll clean everything up.
Yep. Jesus. All right, cool. I'm done. Follow me on Twitter. Shout me out if you want to see something really cool. If you want us to talk about a specific subject, whatever. Other than that, good night.
We out.